The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
It's the summer of 93 at 30.
Welcome to the Brandon Peters Show and the Summer of 93 at 30 series, a weekend by weekend look at the movies released during the summer of 1993. As always, with me for this adventure in watching and talking of things from 30 years ago, from The Wrap, it is Scott Mendelson.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. I have a cat right in the camera vang, so that's
all right.
That's not my pubic hair.
And now all the people listening on Spotify are closing that app and going to YouTube. They did it.
Smash that subscribe button.
I've never said that on here, so you're the first, Scott. All right. Also, of course, is the laundry list writer of We Live Entertainment, a lot of other things, and Why So Blue, Variety, host of Out Now with Aaron, parentheses, and Abe. I think that's how he wanted me to say it. Aaron Neuwirth.
Right here.
Right here.
How we doing?
Not bad. Today we're discussing the weekend that was June 11th through 13th, 1993. Today we'll be discussing 4 films. Of course, this is the first gigantic weekend, or expected gigantic weekend, I guess. Everybody cleared the way, so we're adding some films that may not have come out this weekend, but were around in the summer. Some playing in one theater because this is the dinosaur weekend, the one we've been building up to with dinosaurs, with Carnosaur and Mario Brothers. Was big Dino Summer, right, Aaron? Was that what
Big Dino Summer?
Big Dino Summer.
No, it's another. I got 2 more this week because we got more stuff going on.
We got more stuff. So yeah, we get the biggie. It's the Jurassic Park week of the summer. The crown jewel of it all is here in this week of June. But before we get to that movie at the tail end of this show, so you're going to have to stay through all the 3 movies we will talk about, including one Aaron just loves.
Nazis first, then dinosaurs.
Yeah, sure thing. But speaking of Nazis, let's get to the news, right?
Jesus.
Oh, man. Remember 1993?
Oh, yeah.
When the Nazis came out.
Oh, so June.
Sounds of summer, more like the sound of music. Am I right?
Oh, right.
Because Nazis.
Did not see that coming. All right.
Smash that subscribe button.
When I wake up, don't you know I'm gonna be the man who brings the news to you.
The Canadians win the Stanley Cup.
June 7th, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame breaks ground for their museum in Cleveland, Ohio. Scott, did you go check out that? You lived in Ohio?
I have been there once or twice. It is fine.
Well, the groundbreaking, were you there?
No. I waited till the museum was actually up and functioning.
Gotcha.
Well, that does make sense because Cleveland rocks, I hear. So.
All right.
Mistake by the lake no longer.
All right. On June 8th, drag queen RuPaul releases their debut album, Supermodel of the World. Was that the one? Cover Girl, work.
Is that like spoken word poetry?
On the Broadway, work. Wasn't it like a big deal that like people like discovered RuPaul was a man in drag? Like, wasn't that like you went on a talk show and like came out or something? Like, yo, I'm a man. I think I want to remember it was like on Oprah or something.
This wasn't evident? I don't know.
Again, it was one of those things that, I'm 13 years old and I'm like, okay, that's nice, whatever.
Yep.
I'm gonna go back to playing my video games.
Oh, neat, cool. So, on June 8th, Premier Mark Bazin of Haiti resigns.
Good.
Yeah. End of an era. On June 9th, Scott's favorite, the Stanley Cup final. Montreal Forum and Montreal, Quebec. The Montreal Canadiens beat the LA Kings 4-1 for a 4-1 series win. Canadiens 24th SC Championship, Stanley Cup Championship. Suck it, Gretzky. Because
I was going to say, is Gretzky still playing?
Go to hell, American hockey.
I'm sure he was.
Canada rocks.
Wasn't the great one that week. Spoilers for the TV
This,
recap.
this is around that time. Remember we had that Saturday morning cartoon of like Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, and Bo
God,
Jackson?
yes.
Yeah.
Pro Stars.
Pro Star.
And let me tell you, kids and whatever who is watching, it's even worse than you think.
That one and the WrestleMania one. We had those two.
And you can wonder why we all like cried with joy when like Batman the Animated Series and Animaniacs showed up to rescue us from this Saturday morning cartoon hellscape that was the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh yeah, we had it good. On June 11th, categories and Scrabble game shows air for the last time on NBC. I don't remember them at all.
Neither do I.
I saw that. I was like, what? So
I mean, there was a primetime Monopoly game show that I watched for exactly one episode because it was boring and not fun. But
so this is a good one. This is a niche one that I remember. It was a big deal back in on June 12th. Three Little Pigs by the band Green Jelly hits number 17, the highest it would chart. That song, the "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," the controversy was the band was called Green Jello. They released everything out like Jello, and Jello was like, "Hey, wait a minute. Gelatin is the thing. Our company's Jello. You don't have the right." So they had to change their name to Green Jelly, and they had to re-release everything.
I mean,
they first tried with Green Kleenex, but then they got sued again.
Right. And Green Band-Aid. But I remember this being a thing, and it was just some like metal song where like that was going through the Three Little Pigs thing. Played on my alt rock station a lot.
I mean, they're too punk.
Tupac.
Should have known though. I mean, that just was a TM right above the Jello. I mean, it's not hard to find.
All right, they could have like maybe sold a cassette with every.
Yeah, make a deal with Jello.
Yeah, make
it still be around because you know who's around still. That's right, Green Jello. Know who's not around? Green Gelatin.
Bill Cosby. He did the Jello. Smash that like button. All right.
Contrary to what the Court of Appeal said, he did many Jellos.
Oh, geez. All right. As we go from that to me probably murdering a name here, June 13th, Akbar Hashimi Rafsanjani is reelected the president of Iran.
That's at least partial credit.
Crush that. Smash that like button. Smash that like button. All right. And on June
subscribe or perish.
June 13th, the same day at the LGPA Championship Women's Golf in Bethesda, Patty Sheehan wins her fourth major title by one stroke ahead of runner-up Lori Merton. Go hang with Gretzky, you loser.
I don't want it.
Also, finally that day, it was a big day, Yokozuna beats Hulk Hogan to become the WWF, now WWE, champ because the World Wildlife Federation took fucking forever to tell WWF, you know what? I don't think so. Like, how long was WWF around before the World Wildlife Foundation was like,
wait a minute?
You know what? No.
They didn't catch on the trend.
What is this wrestling you speak of? What? That's always been bizarre to me.
Could have tied themselves together and made a way better. If Hulk Hogan came on, it's like, you got to save the animals, brother. Like that would have been like people would have did it. They would have listened.
You save the dogs and cats. And you go, oh yeah.
Got to recycle your plastics. Those go in the ocean. They affect the dolphins. You don't want to affect the dolphins, do you?
That's right. Man, like
do to you, brother.
Macho Man takes his Slim Jim action to the forest with the animals and nature. We just do it, man.
You don't want to see the dolphins taken away by the Undertaker.
Yeah. So why not? So notable deaths this week: singer-songwriter Arthur Alexander, actress Alice Reinhart, actor Richard Webb shoots himself at age 77. Actor Ray Sharkey. And astronaut Donald Deke K. Slayton passes away this week.
Deke Slayton, yeah.
Yeah.
Fred Ward.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
in the right stuff.
Yes. Oh. So the birthdays this week, people born, actor Jordan Fry, rapper Sway Lee, and auto racer Scott McLaughlin. There we are. Our people. That's our news of this week.
Way off. Gus Grissom's Fred Ward. It's another guy that's Deke Slayton.
Hmm.
I'll get it. It's not Edward Harris, obviously. It's not one of the main ones. Whatever.
Gotcha. All right. Well, yeah, we had more news stories than theaters. Our first movie played in this week. We're going with Equinox.
What about these twin boys? Who are they? Who did they turn out to be? How much do they know, if they know anything?
A shocking secret.
Get back! You understand me?
And we do know him? No.
A terrifying world. And two brothers separated at birth.
I'm told you were an orphan, but you didn't even know your old man or old lady. Is that right?
Does that matter to you?
My whole life seems to be taking place without me in it.
Maybe you're schizophrenic, Henry. Have you ever thought of that?
Identical, yet so different.
You good at work today?
Baby, I don't mess around.
Henry, you're the best.
Why do you gotta do that kind of work?
Don't worry. You ain't gonna catch nothing from me except your breath.
I never know what to do, so I don't do anything. I just go home to my hole and I put it all someplace else. How do you feel, Freddie Ace?
Like God.
What the hell's God got to do with it? We ain't no different than any other business.
Now, their worlds are coming closer.
You have to face yourself, Henry. You have to face the real you.
To the moment of Equinox. Matthew Modine, Laura Flynn Boyle, Marissa Tomei, Laurie Singer, M. Emmett Walsh, and Fred Ward in an Alan Rudolph film.
Are you happy?
I'd be a lot happier with $1 million and a tank full of gas, but I'm doing all right.
One face, one smile, one secret.
Which is directed by Alan Rudolph, written by Alan Rudolph, starring Matthew Modine, Laura Flynn Boyle, Fred Ward, there he is, Tyra Farrell, Marissa Tomei, Kevin J. O'Connor, Tate Donovan, Laurie Singer, M. Emmett Walsh, he's back,
Big Walsh Summer,
and Dirk Blocker. Twins separated at birth and living opposite lives are about to learn of each other and the substantial inheritance they are entitled to. Or are they? So let's, Aaron, I think you probably were a big fan of this movie. Tell me about it.
So I'm not the biggest Modine guy.
You get two of them.
And you get two of them this week. So I was already put off by the, nebbish Modine. And then they're like, oh, now we have uber competent Modine. Like, neither of these are working for me. So I wasn't a big fan of this one. I was trying to grasp at what it was doing. It felt like it's one of the entries in the like retro superhero movies of the 90s, except it's not based on any comic, but it has this like, it's set in a fictional, like stylized city. It has like certain aesthetical charm to it where I'm like, this could be like just the civilians in like The Shadow or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, and on that level,
it's the HBO Max spinoff of The Shadow.
Exactly. And on that level, I was trying to appreciate it, but it just didn't like sit with me in any way. I just like kept trying to like find an in on what this movie wanted to do as far as having like, these two characters are both dealing with stuff, gangsters and what have you. Like there's just things going, and it's like, I recognize what this is, and there's something there as far as it's this kind of like offbeat thriller, and it has a good cast, but like nothing really stood out about this that like made me want to embrace it more. Like I was trying to like grasp stuff, because I knew right when I saw Matthew Modine and then I saw twins, I was like, I already got to like prepare myself for what the rest of this is going to be. So it's like, well, look at the rest of this cast. Cool. Let's see where we go here. But
Could have gotten DeVito to play the other twin.
It just didn't hold on to me. I couldn't find a way to like appreciate what Rudolph was going for here. So not a fan.
Gotcha. Scott, were you a fan?
Well, I mean, when I come to a movie where it's one actor playing basically brothers or two versions of the same character, I want one of two things. I either want psychological mindfuckery combined with grotesque body horror and sexual kinkiness, or I want ass-kicking fisticuff action, where one brother is an ass-kicking assassin and the other one is a regular dude who's also an ass kicker, and they avenge their parents' deaths and save the day. This film contained neither of those elements, so it is an automatic fail. No, I mean, jokes aside, I felt this was a nothing burger of a movie. You have a great cast, you have an inkling of a premise, but I did not find any entertainment value in watching these two versions of the same actor. And I have nothing against Matthew Modine, but he's sort of like the anti-star, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always been a name and someone that, oh, it's him, he's in a movie, but he never really had anything that you would consider like raw movie star magnetism. And that's fine if he was a character actor, but he often was a leading man. And without getting too personal, he never really did much for me. So even though he's probably trying to play a little against type in this picture, it's not particularly engrossing. And there's, I would argue that the two separate lives weren't that different in terms of tone. It would just sort of like, this isn't Sliding Doors where they're two wildly different stories.
Yeah.
They're both playing in a pretty similar sandbox. And they don't really, the climax doesn't really give you much. And it does have a number of very good actors. And, Marissa Tomei is always worth watching just on principle. But it was just a very uninteresting movie that seemed to, okay, we have this premise and let's just stop now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you guys. To me, it felt like some sort of proto Richard Kelly movie, even though this is years before, with touches of like Gattaca and Jacob's Ladder in there. Well,
Gattaca for sure, I was thinking of.
Yeah, and I don't know what this was like. I was not engaged with either of the subplots, and they have this movie with these twins, and they're both supposed to get this this thing, and they don't meet till like 5 minutes is left in this movie. And like
not thrilling of a meeting either.
No, and it's over. And I'm like, they needed to meet way before this or get switched around, or this is some parallel fuckery thing going on, like Scott said, which is where I thought it might be with this Jake, because that's where I was saying Jacob's Ladder, because I was like, something's off here. But it wasn't. Because it's this made up city called what, Empire or something. And it's got a cool like noir type look to it, which I'll be an easy sell on, but it's very claustrophobic, closed, like obviously a cheap movie because they got they went cast for it.
And they saved a ton. They spent a lot of money on that helicopter shot at the end. So
right.
Really,
yeah.
Really blew it there.
I mean, they obviously are afraid to put Modine and Modine together in a lot of the movie because it probably would cost visual effects. But you can do that with stand-ins and stuff like that. You can do old camera tricks.
Yeah. Reverse shot, like it's not. This is the
like.
We've been doing double stuff for a long time in movies. Like this is not the one that's gonna break it.
And he's got this weird the pauper one's got this like sad bastard story with like the hooker down the hall, but he wants to hook up with his friend's sister, and Laura Flynn Boyle, who's confined to a room for most of this movie and then gets to go to a restaurant.
Claustrophobic is right. Like that's
that's what
kept holding me back. I kept feeling like there's like you said, there's like an inkling of plot here. Like we can go a lot of directions. It just does not have anything to offer. It doesn't have anything to offer as far as expanding on these people more, or providing some kind of heady twist, or just going more, more cerebral with it. Like what my favorite Villeneuve film is Enemy, the movie about twins, playing twins.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Yeah,
which they meet like right away, and that's the movie's dealing with the psychological torments of like having another existence and like playing with what that is. Also, there's a big tarantula in it, so I'm cool with that. So it's like, that's a movie that seems to cash in on its premise. It like has ideas that it wants to go into and plays with ambiguity or whatnot. This movie's just like, look at all the stuff we did with the set design. Cool. What about those characters? Who? Like, so it's just
well.
Nothing Burger is a very good example.
Well,
right.
Enemy, it lacks kung fu, but it does have the appropriate psychological mindfuckery, so it works.
There
it
you
passes
go.
the test.
Yes,
well,
that and Twin Dragons.
Well,
yes.
and then like when they're not stuck in some cramped apartment, it's a cramped car that they're in, or like one table at a restaurant is all you can see, and it's just I don't know. Like I tried so hard to like just keep trying to like I wanted to do other things while watching this movie. A lot of the time it's like, what is going on? Like I don't know what I did. Like there's this subplot of this woman who's finding the inheritance to these two dudes, which I don't even remember her connection to them at all. That like she's and it just feels extraneous. Like
but it's almost more entertaining than the actual story, because at least there's a forward momentum of someone trying to do a thing to reach a goal.
Well, it's the least claustrophobic part of it too, because there's only like two people and they're in an open office type thing. But she never comes into their picture quick enough, because they mention the synopsis that's the thing, but she's doing this research the whole movie. And yeah, this thing, it has an idea, but I don't think it knew how to like make at least 80 minutes out of it. I think that's the problem. Like it was
stretched way too thin.
It struggled.
All of these characters, it's odd, and
we gotta get them inherit. Like we gotta get the inheritance papers to them. Isn't interesting. What's interesting is you have a twin brother. You're inheriting something. You live two completely different lives. What now? What do you do with it? That's interesting. That's your fucking movie. They have Act 1 here, and they made it a whole movie. That's what we have here. We have Act 1, the movie. Yeah,
and it got like 5 Independent Spirit Award nominations or something like that. Like it's like what? It's very confusing. This movie's not easy to find. Somehow the Criterion just hasn't got around to it yet.
Right.
So like looking for Equinox is like these other Equinox movies, because there are a lot of them, all like looking back on it now, it's like they all sound more interesting than this movie that I watched.
Right. Well, this movie is only like it's so restricted. It is only available to rent digitally on Apple. Like normally it's just like, okay, everybody can rent digitally. You pick whatever. Apple will rent it. That's it. And it's like it's a very DVD quality standard def transfer. So I don't know if doing it in high definition at least would make it open up and feel less cramped, but doubt it.
I mean, the Music of Chance was like basically pan and scan standard def. So like,
right.
I really like that movie.
Yeah. That one felt nice. Yeah. But yeah, no, Equinox, man, not a discovery. Something I didn't know existed. Now I do. I've seen it. Can't say I recommend there.
It's not a good film.
No, not at all. But maybe we had some good TV.
They were normal parents struggling to find answers.
Why should I listen to you?
Because I'm your mother.
But one question became their nightmare. Did their daughter commit murder?
I'm not running away. I didn't do it.
Married with Children's Katie Segal, Ellie Law's Alan Rachins, battling to save the child they love. She says she's innocent. NBC Monday.
Ratings for this week. Big NBA week here. Number 1, the NBA Finals, Bulls versus Suns, Game 3 on NBC. Number 2 is the NBA Finals, Bulls versus Suns, Game 1 on NBC. Here we go. Number 3 and 4, the tandem. Number 3, Roseanne. Number 4, Home Improvement, both on ABC. More people watch them than the NBA Finals Game 2 on NBC. We have a TV movie on NBC at number 6 called She Says She's Innocent. Scott says she's lying. This movie is
this based on?
It is 3 teenage friends get into a fight, and one of them accidentally gets killed. The 2 remaining girls promise each other to keep silent. As the police get more and more suspicious, the mother of one of the girls gets into a crushing dilemma: protect her daughter or help justice take place. Stars Katie Sagal and Jameson Parker, Robert Picardo, David Lasher, Charlotte Ross.
Glenn Rackens.
Yeah, directed by
Also
Charles
known
Correll.
as Violation of Trust.
I believe this might be so I was noticing when I've been going through these this summer ahead of things that they are rerunning TV movies from the past. So these aren't like necessarily movies that are new this year. They might have aired last year and they're doing them again this summer. Number 7 is 60 Minutes on CBS. Number 8, Coach on ABC. Number 9, another TV movie. It's Deadbolt on CBS. Deadbolt is Douglas Jackson joint starring Justine Bateman, Adam Baldwin, Cindy Pass, and Chris Mulkey's in it.
Chris Mulkey.
Twin Peaks Chris Mulkey. And yeah, that's who's in this one. And yeah.
If you're interested in watching She Says She's Innocent, there is a copy on YouTube right now, and it's available to watch for free at the likes of Tubi and Amazon and Roku.
All right.
Chris Mulkey is
Ruku, huh? Who's Ruku?
Of course, by the time this airs,
brother?
I don't know if that'll still be the case.
Yeah.
Chris Mulkey is like a TV stand-in for Swayze.
Yeah, there you go.
He's got some hair, but he's not quite ready for those big theatrical movies. So it's like,
There you
get
go.
muscle in the background here.
True. Rounding out our 10, Seinfeld, NBC. I'm wondering here, so I've had a talk with Troy Brownfield from Saturday Evening Post here on the show before, but like there's like a whole vault of like old TV movies that just does nothing. Like some of them will wind up on your Tubies or whatever, but like somebody needs to like DVD those or put them on like make a streaming service, because there used to be a quality to them. They used to actually matter when people made them.
Counterpoint.
Back in the day.
Do they?
Huh?
Do they need to do that?
Someone should do it. It's TV history. It's stuff, there's performances, there's actors, there's directors. I mean, John Carpenter did TV movies, for crying out loud. So, I mean,
yeah,
there's interesting stuff. Spielberg worked TV. Like, I don't think he did Duel. Like, those movies, like, they put effort into TV. So the Sunday night movie.
Some of those have releases and some of them don't.
Just saying. It'd be interesting to take a look back at putting it on there. So,
I mean, yeah, I could watch a TV movie instead of like, whatever random series is announced for a box set DVD. Like, yeah, all right, like we can throw in whatever Scott Baio was up to in 1992.
Woo! 10 years of Zapped. That's what he was doing. But you know what? You know who I'd rather check in with in 1993 is Scott Baio. Who's better at playing a man than Scott Baio? Tilda Swinton in Orlando.
It's really very good. I think it'll sell. By the way, how long did this draft take you?
There can be no doubt about his sex, despite the feminine appearance that every young man of the time aspires to.
Do not fade, Orlando. Do not grow old.
Sasha, I cannot think of a life without you.
I see. You're here as a casualty of love.
To me, you were and always will be, whether male or female. The pink, the pearl, and the perfection of your sex.
You can see for yourself what I was. No difference at all. Here I am again.
Playing in 3 theaters, directed and written by Sally Potter, based on a novel by Virginia Woolf. Walter Donahue served as story editor on this. Starring Tilda Swinton, Billy Zane, and Quentin Crisp. After Queen Elizabeth I commands him not to grow old, a young nobleman struggles with love and his place in the world. Scott, you want to take it on Orlando?
I liked it. It's obviously, I would say it's more of a tone poem, for lack of a better word, and it is a delight to see a comparatively young Tilda Swinton. She's only like 32, 33 when she made this.
She's aged 5 years since this movie.
Yeah, she really has, if that. And it's funny, the idea that she's supposed to be playing this androgynous, quote unquote man, when, if I may say, she's a fucking smoke show throughout. But that being said, it is pretty conventional in terms of Elizabethan tropes, in terms of production value and what have you. And the film wears its thesis on its sleeve, the idea of him being disenfranchised when he becomes a she. But that being said, it's very watchable because Tilda Swinton is such a revelation. This is one of her first major roles, before she became, well, what was her breakout picture? I mean, this wasn't where I first heard of her, but this is
somewhere around, like, I wouldn't say The Beach, but that was certainly a major studio movie. But like the Deep End.
Was it like when she did what, like, well, there was Chronicles of Narnia, but like Michael Clayton, she like escalated a whole nother level. Yeah.
But she was already
because
a git.
Narnia, like, I knew who she was.
Yeah, she was a git in Narnia.
Because early 2000s with like Vanilla Sky, like there's character roles that building up. And
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like she was already there, and then like it's like at Michael Clayton, then she's like everybody knows who Tilda Swinton is.
Sure, I mean, like Michael Clayton, as good as it is, and as good as she's an Oscar winner, it's still like a small movie compared to like Narnia, which is
right.
$1 billion blockbusters. Like,
and it's funny, I had never seen this picture before, and I'm watching them thinking, I have to wonder, she 5 years from now, she walks into a theater and watches Kate Blanchett and Elizabeth and's like, oh fuck. But they both survived. They both and they both thrived concurrently alongside each other.
And they both had to deal with Benjamin Button, that bastard.
This is true. Everyone has to deal with Benjamin Button at some point.
If you didn't know this, Scott, as he was getting younger, they were getting older.
But yeah, I really very much enjoyed this one. I mean, it's yeah, and again, my biggest takeaway from it is just it was really entertaining to see her at basically the beginning of her career, before she was quote unquote prestigious and upper crust character actress, blah blah blah. Yep.
Yeah. I discovered Orlando recently because it was in the Sony Pictures Classics 30th anniversary box set for the 4K set. It was the first of the kickoff film in it. So there it is. Yes. I love that set. And I really, this is the second time I've watched it in 4 months or so. And I really dig this film. It's quirky. It's fun. It's not super long for a like period film like this. They could have stretched
90 minutes.
Yeah, 90 minutes. It moves. It goes to different, like a lot of different settings. I thought a lot of this was kind of like Elizabethan Fleabag-ish. There's like many things that reminded me of that. Like her looks to the camera feel very much like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. They're not like your typical narrator things, and she'll pop over there like unexpectedly. It is just a gorgeous film to look at. Like it is just incredible. It's a really good 4K.
It really shows off the production design.
Yeah, Swinton, like I didn't understand what this movie was doing the first time I was watching with like, I was like, oh, she's a boy, and then now she's a woman. Oh, okay, whatever. This passage of time or whatever. I do like that they gave the part of the poet in the beginning that tells her work's trash because she tries to become a poet, or he tries to become a poet. And then when she's selling the book at the end, it's the same actor that really wants to do the publishing of the book and stuff. So, but no, this is a really fun movie with some funniness. Billy Zane's a treat here when he shows up.
Second Billy Zane movie this summer.
Big Billy Summer. They have him on like the marketing and the back of the cases. He shows up for like
Billy Zane. They needed to market this right.
Yeah, he shows up for like 5 minutes. But he's a pretty nice
That's
delight.
A clear
there.
American thing, because it's like, look at all these Brits. It's a weird movie. She's a boy. She's a man. What do we do with this? Well, Billy Zane's in it. Put him on the poster. Dead calm. There we go. Got it.
And someone out there said, "That's the kind of man I can picture slamming evil."
But Zane, the guy from Back to the Future? Yeah. All right.
Only number 2? Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, Orlando.
I think this movie is cool, really good. I would say, Scott, you're underselling it in certain aspects by saying it's conventional. Like, I don't know what's conventional beyond like it has costumes of its era. The story being told is like, I there's not a lot like it as far as a character that literally changes genders midway through within this time period and has to deal with the ramifications of that. Like, sure, like class, dealing with class and dealing with status and like the politics involved is one thing, but in terms of the all encompassing one singular character, that's like not something I generally see now. I mean, it's I found that to be just really ambitious for a 1993 movie based off a book. I get that, but I mean, it takes turns in ways that like aren't necessarily unexpected, but certainly feel unique for a film like this, and certainly of this time period. It reminded me honestly of watching just last year 3000. What the fuck is it called?
The Years of Longing?
3,000 Years of Longing, except instead of her being told these stories, she's just in the stories now. Mm-hmm. It's just I like the kind of like grounded fantasticalism that they're going for. It's like it's neat to like just see a movie like this that is trying things different. From a director who has not made many films after this. Like, okay, she did not go on to do much more after this, despite like the acclaim that this film received, and like 2 Oscar noms or whatever, like production and art design.
It's what you get, woman director.
But
that's 1993 people speaking.
And I have to assume this is like like an early Sony Classics picture too, right? This is like
the first year, yeah.
First one, and it certainly sets a precedent as far as like what kind of indie films they're dealing with. That shows looking at just this box set alone, you can see the kind of like, the running themes that go through it. But no, I think, Swinton's obviously very good here. There's a lot of like just solid character actors that are still working. Like this is Toby Jones is one of his first movies, I think, if not his first movie. Like there's a lot of people in here. I was like, oh man, there's a stacked cast of people I recognize. It's certainly a tone poem, a vibes movie for sure. Like it has this kind of the appeal, I wouldn't necessarily say is the story, but more of just like this feeling that you're going through as you go through different years and you observe the changes and the way things stay the same to some degree. Like I found that all very interesting. This is, you guys have already said so much as far as what there is to praise about the movie, but there's a lot because I think it's a really good movie, really strong.
Yeah, definitely. This is a high recommend to seek out. Definitely. I don't know if you're not into like these kind of films, if it would be your cup of tea, but it's while it embraces some of it, it's much different than your typical Elizabethan movie, and it's quirky and it's weird. And if you enjoy Tilda Swinton, that's your ultimate recommendation right there.
You're a geek listening to the Brandon Peters show.
That's right, it's true.
Summer '93. I think you'll be okay with a Sony Pictures classic starring Tilda Swinton.
Right. That's true.
No, if I did undersell it, so be it. But for the record, I did absolutely enjoy watching it quite a bit.
It's just more you say conventional. I was like, what's conventional about this movie? Like,
I guess it was, and again,
the costumes.
It was not a criticism. It almost felt like, of course, this is the kind of movie Tilda Swinton would try to make.
that's fair, and I
and
that
30 years
now.
later, maybe it's
1993. It feels like this. It stands out as far, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Equinox can't do this.
Equinox can't do much.
Yeah. Tilda Swinton played a boy and a girl tremendously. Matthew Modine on paper is two twins. So
lots of kung fu.
Lots of puffy pants in this movie. You know? It just seems like they're like probably really hard to get on, but like probably strangely comfortable too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live in this period, but it's like these pants are weird.
Yeah, and this movie, I mean, it couldn't have cost a whole lot of money, but it looks expensive. Like it's a small movie, though the scope of it and scale is quite large, and it looks a lot more expensive than it probably was, which is a testament to Sally Potter, who should have taken off big time from here. But
the score too, right? That was the other thing I noticed. She's like one of the.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah. Orlando. Yeah, not just a place where theme parks are.
I just got back from Miami. I didn't take a trip to Orlando, but I was happy I watched it on 4K.
There you go. Yeah.
The jellyfish are waiting for you, Aaron.
Oh, that was so many months ago. When this drops. Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's move on to
Spoiler alert, months later, the jellyfish found him and got him again.
Oh,
on the YouTube version of this, I assume there will be a link to the podcast episode.
If I have time for those things. But so yeah,
that subscribe button.
So we'll move on to the Casey Kasem top 40, the top 10.
Casey's biggest hits.
As always, we begin with number 1 of Janet Jackson. That's the way love goes. Still going on that. And Freak Me by Silk. Number 3, Knockin' the Boots by H-Town. Number 4, Weak by SWV. We have a new number 5 though. Show Me Love by Robin S. Number 6, Looking Through Patient Eyes, PM Dawn. 7, I'm So Into You, SWV. And number 8, Bad Boys moves up 2 spots by Inner Circle. Doing it again. Number 9, Have I Told You Lately by Rod Stewart. And number 10, Duran Duran has entered the chat room with Come Undone. And if you want to talk about coming undone, our next movie is about some people who have come undone. It's Romper, Stomper.
We came to wreck everything.
I'm going to tell you something. I want you to listen to me, okay? This is not your country.
It's about war, isn't it?
God sent us.
Directed by Jeffrey Wright, written by Jeffrey Wright, starring Russell Crowe, Daniel Pollock, Jacqueline McKenzie, and Alex Scott. A group of skinheads become alarmed at the way their neighborhood is changing. Oh boy. Aaron, romp, stomp.
I've never romped and stomped before this week, and now I have. A movie I've certainly heard about plenty of times. That and Chopper with Eric Bana. Like, for some reason, I just haven't seen these Australian imports before. You know, the ones that kind of made. Although I have seen Two Hands with Heath Ledger and Brian Cocktail. I forget his last name.
There we go. Brian Cocktail. I like
Brian
it.
Cocktail. You know, Brian FX. Brian FX 2, The Art of Deadly Illusion. But no, I've never robbed or stomped before, so now I have. And it's about what I expected. I think I read a note that said Mel Gibson was asked, but he said not racist enough, so he said no. But not enough Jews, I think, was the other comment he had. Too Asian. I think this movie's fine. I get why it would be celebrated in quotes, but like, it's edgy. It's not offering a whole lot for me as far as like giving us an inside look at what it is to be an angry skinhead or what have you. It's just more of an exercise in showing like what that sort of depravity can do to a person and to a group or whatever, which is like it's fine, but just I'm not over the moon for like American History X, so this movie's throwing me. it's not exceeding that in any way. So it's like, it doesn't really sit very high in the spectrum of racially motivated angry movies that are supposed to feel something. So it's fine. It does what it is, but nothing special to me.
Gotcha. Scott.
This is the kind of movie that we saw a lot through that 10-year period of, the Clinton era right through 9/11, more or less, when there was we, and I say we generically, some of us thought that we were at the end of history and we were winning the hearts and minds battle, and that movies like this could actually make a difference in a positive way. And in that sense, okay, fine, I totally get it. And I don't begrudge the film's existence 30 years later. But in retrospect, this is probably the kind of film like American History X and like Ryan Gosling's The Believer, that while their hearts are absolutely in the right place, time and history has shown that the kind of people that you want to have, to be converted by this kind of movie are also the kind of people that are likely to see these tortured, tormented, racist anti-heroes and think that they're like cool and edgy and almost noble in their sacrifice. While if you really want to make a difference, stuff like The Producers and Jojo Rabbit, which takes these these people and makes them figures of fun and buffoonery and tomfoolery, that seems to do a better job of what I think films like this are trying to do. And there's always an issue, and there's nothing you can do about that, but like, it's obviously the film is not taking the point of view of the Nazis or the racist or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's the actors playing the skinheads that go on to be huge superstars, while the people playing the disenfranchised people don't. And Ryan Gosling around, Edward Norton, he had already been around for a few years before American History X, but these are sort of star-making roles as playing these horrific, terrible anti-heroes, and in the broad scheme of things, like, it's kind of accomplishing the opposite of what you might have set out to do. Again, in a vacuum, the movie is fine. It's very generic. It's not generic. It's very obvious. Goes exactly where you're expecting it to go. And what it obviously doesn't have that a film like, pardon the cheap comparison, Menace to Society might have, is that there's no sense of victimization toward these people that are on the wrong side of the path. These people have, to a certain extent, no one to blame but themselves. And, whether I would have felt this way 30 years ago, when again, we were all living in Clinton's America, where, Independence Day was selling this wonderful vision of we're all starting to get along and everything's going to be fine. And then 9/11 came along and said, haha, never mind. That being said, I mean, it's interesting as a time capsule. It's interesting as a very, very early Russell Crowe picture. But other than that, it's like, that's nice.
I would add that, I mean, this is an Australian movie. I mean, I don't think he cares about Clinton's America. Like, it's...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I think Scott's referring to the American people picking it up, because...
someone like, if I had seen this film when I was 13, or whatever Yeah. And obviously I would be living in Akron, Ohio. And, the issues are close enough to, American issues with racism and what have you, that, I think we could, it's not like when I watch some, I watch something like RRR, it's like, oh, here's the reasons why it's problematic. It's like, I don't care. I'm a white guy living in California. I'm just going to enjoy this movie for what it is.
Also, it has a paragraph of text that says any, whatever. that's not what we're doing here, guys.
Yeah.
But yes, I know it's fucking Romper, Stomper, and RRR. But that being said, again, it's. I think I agree with Aaron, where it's like, okay, that's nice. Boy, racism sucks. Yeah, I already knew that, and if I didn't know that, I no longer believe that films like this would have the power to change my mind.
And I mean, you speak about the actors as far as like this or Gosling and The Believer. That's a good poll, or like Edward. It's like, yeah, they stand out because they're playing. For one thing, you assume that no actor is actually this person.
Yes,
that's a different conversation.
Well, here's the thing: Russell Crowe's so good in this movie, he'd be canceled if it came out today.
So it's like, if you're going by that bias,
throw the phone at him.
They can't actually be this way. Automatically, you're thinking this is a great actor. Look at all this.
Yeah.
Doing in this kind of look at this character he's playing, and it's like and all these performances are always big. There's no subtle Nazi,
right?
So there's so much for them to chew on already. So yeah, that's going to get the attention. Like I get why it's a star-making performance, but it's you do this if this kind of movie gets attention. There's a pretty good bet that it's going to get attention for certain reasons. Like having a person that has this inherent screen charisma, which Crowe does. Playing this kind of role, that's going to stand out.
Well, it's got a lot of stuff that for back then was like, oh, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they did that in a movie that would attract like a young teenage male, probably with the movie. I personally, I'm kind of there with it. Like I kind of at a point where I've seen enough of ones like these, and I've seen them done better than this. I did had some weird issues where there's no one really to like sympathize or follow with in this entire movie. Our in character, the girlfriend, the female, she's a piece of crap too. Like, I mean, oh, well, maybe I went too far. Well, yeah, you freaking joined Nazis to spite your father and then led them to his house to like destroy it and do all this stuff, and then I've gone too far. Oh, he's mean.
I mean, there's a part of me that would say that's something I can't admire about the film, because the last thing I need is a movie to make me care about skinheads. I can appreciate that. It's just like they're just pieces of crap the whole time.
There's a sequence in the middle of this where the Asian community takes it on themselves to like, hey, let's go. I'm tired of these fucking guys.
Yeah.
And it's probably the best stuff in the film is this sequence when they come for them and they're escaping, but I'm like, yeah, get them. Like am I supposed to be like, it's shot in a way where I think I'm supposed to be in suspense for the Nazi guys, but I'm like, no, fuck them, get them.
I have been conflicted since the boat chase and Live and Let Die. I think, like, am I rooting for the Harlem drug dealers or the racist redneck sheriff? I don't know.
I think it presents a pretty matter of fact. Like, so it's like that's the stuff where that's why I don't dislike this movie, because I do think it by not it's not giving you some kind of his father was a skinhead, therefore he is too. Like, it's not trying to give you like empathy.
No, it doesn't do that.
Because that's kind of an issue of American History X with some degree. But so it's like this movie is like, they do kind of do it with one of the Nazis though. They don't do it with Russell Crowe, but like or else there's just no movie here beyond. Look at all these people that hate everybody,
right?
Which is very tiresome.
I will say there was this alley fight that was a prelude to when the Asian people just like come and like say enough, where I wondered that if in some weird way that the big news channel fight scene in Anchorman was somehow parodying this fight, because it is outrageous when they're in the streets, when they first have the big thing in the streets, and it's not like they came out and introduced themselves. It's the fight itself that got crazy. I was like, man, I wonder if Anchorman was like, remember Romper Stomper?
That's the
like it was too specific then, and just jogging my mind with that. But then there was also a scene in here that was straight out of sequence that's straight out of Clockwork Orange.
This movie feels very much indebted to Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Like the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, it definitely does. There's also a scene where the cops straight up shoot that kid in the head, and I was just like, wow. Okay.
That's one less to worry about.
Yeah, it is a Nazi kid, but
yeah.
Clockwork Orange, and there's some like, just because it's Australian, so some George Miller kind of like matter of factness to it, like the first Mad Max, like there's it has a Colin Card-esque feel to it as well, as far as the direction goes and what they're doing.
And I mean, it predates it, but I'm like, this feels like what a immature kid would have made after seeing a Guy Ritchie movie. Like it kind of feels like that, but I mean, it predates his stuff.
Where you get something like Clockwork Orange, where it's like, yeah, what we made a movie about like the Droogs only, like there's stuff there. Like there's other movies that you can look to, or think of various, I don't know, Walter Hill movies or something, just like stuff. And the way it's coming from like this punk era, and like the fact that all the punk songs are very racially heavy. It's like, it's not bad. The beats aren't bad. Like, lyrics are a little bit questionable. But
can I buy the instrumental of this album? Is that available? I did, and I like how Russell Crowe, he was like a classy Nazi, knew his stuff when the guy's like, let's shoot him back to Singapore, and he's like, Saigon, stupid. It's like, well, okay, well, he knows where they're from.
So he's not a white supremacist out of ignorance.
No, he knows
it's a choice. He gives a whole monologue. It's like, my pure white skin, that's why I do this. Like, it's just like, okay.
Yeah, but this is definitely I guess this is probably one of those like, oh man, you seen Romper? So like VHS, like tell your friends about it movies back.
Yeah, before like, I don't know, before Train Spotting and whatnot got like, as far as kind of international imports that have this cult following, this certainly hits that wave pretty easily.
Like what was like who's like somebody read this was like, I need that dude from that Romper Stomper movie in my movie in
Curtis
America.
Hanson looked at as Forgetting Him, LA Confidential. This is the movie.
Jeez, that's crazy. Wow. Well, because he had Quick and the Dead before that.
That's 95.
95.
Yeah, this is 93, and then Virtuosity, of course.
Virtuosity,
but Curtis Hanson's not looking at Sid 2.0 and being like, that fucking guy needs to be Bud. Like,
you never know.
He's seeing, like you just said about classy white supremacists, like that guy could play a detective who like beats up people like that. Yeah, look at Romper Stomper. I get that. I get that one too. But look at the pacifist preacher. He should play a dirty cop. Like,
well, and you gotta wonder too. Like, I wonder because Crow was very like, I mean, they parodied him in freaking Tropic Thunder because of his like so kind of method with his acting, and I wonder how much of this because he had that like rage type paparazzi type thing or following him around, and I wonder if like that stuck with them doing this role and just kind of stayed within him because he dived so deep into his parts. And now he's out of it, and he's like fat and happy. Like
he lost a lot of weight during that divorce.
Yeah,
because he lost like half his stuff. That's why he had to sell things. That's
oh my! But yeah, Romper Stomper's available.
Method is Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah, you can watch Romper Stomper anywhere. Like it's on like Nicktoons, Disney Plus. It is all over. Like seriously. Yeah, you can watch it with ads, without ads. You can pay for it. You don't have to. Like
I watch it on Hoopla for free. So.
Yeah, PBS Kids. It's over there. It's all over everywhere. But yeah,
ESPN West for some reason only.
Right. So yeah, that's was probably a very popular VHS tape to pass around back in the day at the rental stores. But speaking of those, I think it's time for another tale from the video store from Yancy Berns.
Excuse me.
What are you doing?
What?
Vincent stopped making pics.
Well, how am I going to know what movies to see?
We have a wide variety of Gene pics.
Gene's trash.
I'm Gene.
Hi.
I actually worked at this store too, shamefully, called Video Liquidators. In fact, all of us worked at this store. Many of my friends ended up working for a chain called Video Liquidators, which if a store like Video Archives was 70% legitimately great curated cinema and TV and great stuff, and 30% porn, Video Liquidators was 98% porn, and then 2% of a little fake video store in the front where they had basically Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and it was a horrible, shameful place to work. It was like a real distended perversion of how these video stores work. But they were just selling porn. I obviously won't name any names, but he also told me, and I believe this, they had a huge section of no box porn. So it was just the VHS, because you didn't want to go home and have your wife find the big, because the porn boxes for some reason were gigantic. Like for some reason they wanted your people to find these things in your house. They wanted your wife, your girlfriend, to find these giant boxes, or they wanted you to put them on a different shelf. I don't know. He says one night, an actor who played the president in a 90s movie, which will go unnamed, came in and sorted through that section and got himself a nice chunk of very, very dirty pornography. Brought it to the front counter, paid for it, and left.
Was that president on a plane at one point and trying to get
off?
God,
or... no, it's not Harrison Ford. No, God, I wouldn't tell you. If it was Harrison Ford, I would never tell you.
All right. And now we are here, which you probably skipped the 3 movies to this pinpoint for Jurassic Park.
On June 11th, dinosaurs and man, 2 species suddenly thrown back into the mix together.
Can I touch it?
Sure. How can we possibly have the slightest idea what to expect?
Universal Pictures presents a Steven Spielberg film, an adventure 65 million years in the making. Look out! Go! Jurassic Park, rated PG-13. Special premiere tomorrow night. Starts Friday everywhere.
This one's directed by, I believe, is Steven Spielberg.
Is that the Star Wars guy?
No, 1941 guy. This is 1941.
Right. My mistake.
Richard Dreyfuss movie with Audrey Hepburn.
Yep. Always guy. 1941 guy.
Is he the one that made that dumb Peter Pan movie?
That's him.
Right.
Yep. Does not know what to do with blockbusters, but it's written by David Koepp on a novel by Michael Crichton, starring Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Richard Attenborough, Bob Peck, B.D. Wong, Ariana Richards, Joseph Mazzello, Samuel L. Jackson, and Seinfeld's Wayne Knight. He's our second person to be in the top 10 TV and top 10 movies this week. Spoiler, people went to see Jurassic fucking Park. A pragmatic paleontologist touring on an almost complete theme park on an island in Central America is tasked with protecting a couple of kids after a power failure causes the park's clone dinosaurs to run loose. Oh yeah, other people are in this movie.
Which I love that. By the way, I love that synopsis because it's like, if by some fluke you don't know what this movie is, it throws you a real fucking curveball in that last couple words there.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's a paleontologist, he's at this theme park, and he's got to protect some kids from clone dinosaurs. Oh, okay.
Right. Oh, ba 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 ba. So, to note, before we did a commentary here on Out Now with Aaron and Abe for Jurassic Park. You can go and listen if you want the short version where we talk about it here. You can listen to that lovely commentary. Scott, take us back to the park.
Yeah. I think this is one where we can all remember where we first saw it. I assume, did we? I know you're like younger than us, but you saw it in a theater, right, Aaron?
We'll get to me, Scott.
What was that?
We'll get to me.
I saw it on the Thursday night of advanced night screening, 10 o'clock. My dad came home from a business trip to take me. And this was, and I tell this story a lot because it's this was back when movie reviews debuted in the morning paper on Friday morning. You didn't have the internet, more or less. I mean, you did, but not, you didn't have, test screenings out the ass. You didn't have embargoes being broken weeks at a time. So people who went and saw the film on Thursday night before it opened had no idea whether it was any good or not. And I can only speak from my own experiences coming off of Hook that I was not crazy about. And we all love The Last Crusade, but Spielberg had been in a minor comparative, I don't want to say slump, that's even too harsh of a word, but we joke about always, but that's point being, it knocked our fucking socks off. Nobody knew how good it would be, how scary it would be, how violent it would be, but in a somewhat kid-friendly way. The previews were very good about hiding the quality and quantity of dinosaur footage and special effects. It really did look like lifelike dinosaurs in a way that, frankly, I wasn't expecting because we hadn't seen that before. And it's just, as in terms of a popcorn entertainment, it's just fucking terrific. It still is. I mean, we could, people, depending on how old you are, maybe you prefer Jaws, maybe you prefer Jurassic Park, whatever, tomato, but it really then and now holds up as a very, very, very high quality, crowd pleasing blockbuster. And it became the biggest grossing movie of all time worldwide, displacing E.T. Boo-hoo. It made $359 million domestic from a record $50 million opening weekend, second only to E.T. at that time. It opened in June of 1993, and it was still in drive-in theaters in June of 1994. It was one of the last super blockbusters to take advantage of the second-run marketplace in any substantial way, because they start being phased out in the mid to late 90s anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of anything that we haven't already said 1,000 times about this picture, so I'm just going to shut up and let other people talk.
Is it still the best Jurassic Park?
Look, I like the Jurassic World movies more. I mean, honestly, look, you want to play? Okay. I think the Jurassic Park movie is a 4-star blockbuster. I think all 4 of the other 5 of the other sequels are to varying degrees 3-star pictures. I like some of them more than others. Lost World is very mixed for me, and it's very uneven. Dominion, definitely grading that fucker on a curve because it was one of the few COVID era blockbusters that looked like a real movie, and I really appreciated that. But yeah, I think all 6 of Jurassic Park movies are varying degrees of good. None of them compare to the Velocipaster, but what does? But yeah, it still rocks.
All right, Aaron.
First off, there's no splitting the difference between Jaws and Jurassic Park. Jaws is a perfect movie and one of the best movies. Jurassic Park is a very good blockbuster, period. That spawned a very mediocre franchise. Nowadays, I've said this on the commentary, and this is my general regard for Jurassic Park. There's a poster of it in front of me. Like, I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park, but it's a movie I consider my favorite non-favorite movie of all time. As far as I know it by heart, I've seen it plenty of times. There's nothing in that like makes it bad to me. It's just not a movie that I could rank among my favorites. I think it's a very solid Spielberg movie. It is wildly entertaining. It's highly quotable. It's incredibly ambitious for its time in terms of the visuals and the effects and what have you. There's so much going on there to admire. But just minor story stuff or whatever is just there's only so much going on where I'm like, yeah, I appreciate it. I think it's great. If it comes out in a re-release in theaters, why not see it? It's fun. Why would I not want to see Jurassic Park again? That said, 1993, Aaron, big dino summer. Oh my god!
Open the door, get on the floor. Aaron's gonna walk the dinosaur.
This movie was incredible to me in 1993. I love dinosaurs. I'm a huge dinosaur. I'm still a huge dinosaur guy, regardless of this franchise.
It's the natural kaiju, right?
Yeah, exactly. Put more dinosaurs in movies. Finally, someone's like, what if Adam Driver was a spaceman that fought a dinosaur? Why? Yes, like, why are we not? After Jurassic Park comes out, it's weird to me that there's only still so many dinosaur blockbusters. Like, that's weird. To the point where it's so unnatural for people to see dinosaurs in movies that they're like, the dinosaurs in King Kong weren't real enough. It's fucking King Kong, but whatever. Like,
by the way, all three of us are hashtag Team King Kong for the record.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I will say too, Aaron, like people like Jupiter Ascending. I believe it was Jordan Grout said someone's said it was terrible. He's like, how could it be terrible? Dinosaurs flew spaceships in that fucking movie. And then Doctor Who one time they had an episode called Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Like, that's cool concepts.
Well, and dinos. There are not dinosaurs in the movie, but I think one of the reasons I enjoy Rampage as much as I do is it has that similar, anarchic spirit, disaster, peril spirit in a way that is different from, not better or worse, than the conventional kaiju picture.
Right.
So yeah, 1993, big dino summer. Cool. I am seeing dinosaurs on the big screen. I am loving it. I'm loving it. So opening night with my mom, big on it. What about, was it 93? So I'm what, 7 or whatever I am? 8. It June, so yeah, I'm like 8 now. Yeah, I saw it again with my dad, like at least if not a week later, sometime in that, I saw it twice pretty quickly. Maybe I saw it a third time in theaters. I don't know. I loved this movie when I was then. Had a VHS, watched it all the time. That was the first movie book I ever bought. Like I had the like from picture to screen, like, or whatever, like, which is like behind the scenes photos and like a whole section devoted to storyboards that Spielberg wrote. And it's like that was a cool book to have. It was like the making of Jurassic Park, and it had like the whole section was yellow pages that were storyboards. I had everything involved in this movie. I had toys, had the Sega Genesis Jurassic Park game, which was hard as fuck.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Where you could play as Dr. Alan Grant and be like killed all the time because you're Dr. Alan Grant, or you could play as a raptor and be like, I got a little farther.
And the Super Nintendo one was completely different.
Yeah, because that's how they rolled back then. But yeah, no, I was all about Jurassic Park then. I like Jeff Goldblum became like, because he between doing that and Independence Day, it was like, is this guy my favorite actor? Like, I just
he was the blockbuster king at that time.
Well,
like,
it was because it was that, and then Will Smith had Bad Boys and Independence Day, and like Bad Boys at that, I'm watching Fresh Prince all the time, and then Bad Boys happens, and that's where like my mom's like, Will Smith has a fade. You're getting a fade. Like, it's just like it was like between these two, like, and then they're in a movie together. It's like, oh my god, what's going on here? But Jurassic Park, yeah, all the stuff going on, like all the dinosaurs, raptors are cool, Tyrannosaurus Rex is good, Dilophosaurus is spitting things. Like, yeah, I'm all into this. Newman's getting there and he gets killed by like, yes. Was it like kind of scary? I don't know. I don't remember being like scared by it because I'm thinking dinosaurs is awesome. Like, this movie was totally my speed back then. At that point, like, I'm probably still like Star Wars and Indiana Jones are like my jam, like my favorite things ever. But like Jurassic Park certainly, sits right there as far as being a thing that I would actively, and Batman's the other thing, and Returns. I had more Returns toys than Batman toys. So yeah, like Jurassic Park was just, that was an event where it's like, if this, like, I don't mind watching this all the time. Like, that was certainly where I was at that age. I never really soured on it. It was just more of when I, think about the movies I've seen. It's like, yeah, I like this less than other Spielberg movies, but I still like it plenty. Lost World didn't help because I actively did not like that movie when it came out in 97, because I'm right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to fight you too much on that one.
It has good set pieces. I've never been against like the sets that's the like the sequences that matter. That's a whole different art. We don't have to talk about what Lost World is, but as far as as far as like that appeal goes, like, yeah, Jurassic Park comes out, totally into it. Lost World comes out, not like I didn't see it opening weekend. I saw it and like I got whatever out of it I did. Like it kind of keeps going down that line where it's like 3 I saw and it's like, that's a movie, that's whatever. And they eventually came back again, and I'm with Scott where it's like the world movies, they do what they do. I'm not wildly against them, but they're, it's not a franchise where I'm like, man, they really need to capitalize off the success of those previous sequels. All the great, like,
where are my stakes supposed to be with those? It was like, I got what I paid for. They were fine.
It's the latest Dino theme park movie. Like, the buy-in isn't very high here, guys. Like, it's
well, you and I, we all talk about this deal. Critics and audiences aren't seeing eye to eye. Like, I'm sorry, back in my day, Dino Park Massacre 6 was not supposed to get good reviews. That's not how this fucking worked.
Yeah, I mean, I can rank all my Godzilla movies, but there's a good section in there where it's not like all of these really matter at this point of how where that quality is coming from in certain parts of it. Jurassic Park is as Scott, it's a 4-star blockbuster. If you want a blockbuster movie that's going to deliver the kind of things that a blockbuster can in the best of ways, Jurassic Park is very much doing that. So yeah, I am a fan of the movie, and 1993 me was over the moon for it.
Yep, I like it goes down as one of my biggest, best, favorite movie going experiences ever, because we hadn't seen this yet. This was wowing just to look at the screen in a way few other films can pull off before it and after it. And yeah, I don't I enjoy this movie a lot, but I don't know where I'd be like, oh, it's one of my favorites ever. But yeah, 1993 Brandon was stoked to see this. My grandma took me opening weekend, and I saw it, and it was funny because I got dropped off at home after she dropped me off home, and I was home alone at night, and there were some creaky things. So I was like, what the fuck? I know raptors aren't real, but I just saw that damn movie, and there was that intense kitchen scene with the kids. But no, and then I never owned it till, oh gosh, I think maybe I had the DVD or something way down the road, because everybody had it. It was playing everywhere. We watched it at school probably 3 damn times. It was downtime. Pop on Jurassic Park. That's a safe one for everybody. Everybody loved Jurassic Park. But no, it was super cool movie. Great. It's worthy of all the praise it gets. Yes, the sequels all diminishing returns. I like Lost World. I know Aaron does not like it, but I'm fine with that. It's a top tier crummy B movie for me. But I don't know. I have no stakes. I find it hilarious, the anger that comes from people watching the Jurassic World movies. I'm like, what? Am I missing something about how awful these are? I'm just I'm not going in expecting the bar was set with Lost World and 3, and then and then Jurassic World was all right, it's fine, but
it blew my mind. And again, this is the perpetually online. Obviously, it's not general audiences, but the people that just couldn't understand why Jurassic World was popular and was seen as good to general moviegoers in a summer where you had Fantastic Four and Terminator Geonosis and Pixels. I mean, you had some god awful pieces of shit that year.
This is the one that struck such a higher.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and Colin Trevorrow is probably the only guy on earth whose career actually got hurt by making a relatively well-reviewed $1.6 billion movie.
Yeah. Well, and
meanwhile, we keep letting Rob Marshall get away with his madness.
Yeah. Right.
Apparently, The Little Mermaid was shot in a toilet bowl from the footage that we've seen.
Oh, God. Yeah, that they dared put that trailer of an underwater CG movie in front of Avatar. I was like, oh, put on your 3D glasses now. I'm like, do you guys really want to do this?
Rob Marshall might have the worst track record for a guy that has multiple billion dollars.
He really is. I mean, he should have been put in whatever directors. 10 years later, who directed John Moore? He should be in the same fucking director's jail as John Moore.
Yeah.
The 10th anniversary of Live Free or Die Hard. Or no,
A Good Day to Die Hard.
Oh yeah.
Good Day to Die Hard.
Back to the Jurassic World. I like the second Jurassic
Let's do a commentary on that.
Fallen Kingdom, because it's weird and it's really different and weird. I'm like, it kind of put the Carnosaur into the dinosaur in that one. Finally. So I like it for being weird, but this first movie, yeah, it's top notch. It's Spielberg doing what he does best, pushing the boundaries of technical filmmaking, making an enjoyable blockbuster for anyone to go see it.
And it's got so much personality and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a stuff movie where it's obviously raptor chase, Tyrannosaurus chase, these huge set pieces are highly memorable and incredibly well executed, enough for Spielberg to be like, I can do that again in War of the Worlds, but less good. But it has, the moments, it has Bingo, Dino DNA, and Goldblum doing all of the Jeff Goldblum things he's doing, and what's his name, the hunter with the small shorts, clever girl, Muldoon.
Muldoon. Yeah,
this has like all the stuff, and there's something.
Well, one thing
there's not a lot of there's not a lot of blockbusters these days where like all the little details that stand out in the way that a movie like Jurassic Park does, and very few that come after it. Like, I'm not looking at some of these MCU movies and thinking about much more because there's not a lot of personality, because you don't have a Spielberg, and not like everybody needs to be Spielberg, but like Spielberg brings so much of things.
And I also think, and I know we talk about this a lot, but I think Jurassic Park comes from that era where you couldn't afford to do nonstop spectacle, so you still had to put some effort into character and storytelling and the quote unquote quiet moments.
Right. Well, I also think too, one thing that this does that what I appreciate in the Avatar movies here is that we're allowed to like hang out at the park for a bit. We're not these like we are in such super plot-based movies that are like like we're allowed to go in the park. We go on the little tour. We get to see the areas. We get to do we have scenes that don't matter to the rest of the movie, but they at least allow us to breathe and feel like we're in this world and enjoy the discovery of it with the characters, and not just focus on this, focus. This is important. This is important. We get to have non-important stuff here. The stuff, the exchanges.
I care about and I remember. That's why Kyle Khan is one of the best movie characters of all time, the last decade.
And it's what I do appreciate very much about it is it does something very specific where you get dinosaurs every 20 minutes, but they're different dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're very short scenes, which means the audience feels they've had their cookie, so that they can take another 20 minutes of plot and character and storytelling.
And variety of dinosaurs. Like there were so many dinosaurs in that movie. Yeah. Yeah,
and you almost don't realize till you watch it a couple times that you don't even see a fucking raptor till the end of the movie.
Right? No, they hold those suckers.
And you wait.
You have the baby. They have the baby.
And the T-Rex shows up at the hour and 5 minute mark of a 2-hour movie.
The cold open of the movie, with the raptor, because it kills that guy.
Oh yeah.
Spielberg's one of the few people that actually does kill the black guy first.
Yeah. No, this is an experience like Star Wars before it, Batman in '89. This is another one of those like this, the cheesy. This is why we go to the movies. This is why Nicole Kidman sits in the theater. This movie, not Jurassic World, which she is watching in that. As she says, taking us to places we've never been before, and it's the Jurassic World.
All the movies she's
Jurassic
watching
World
are
and Creed 3, and
in Wonder Woman, which I love Wonder Woman, but it's a franchise play.
Just to add this, just because it doesn't necessarily matter, but this is also the year where he does Jurassic Park and Schindler's
List. Yeah, one of his many twofer years.
One of his many busy years, exactly. Like to the point where after this year, it's a 4-year break, and his next movie is a sequel to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, which he didn't really want to do, which I think is reflected in the picture. The story he always tells, if I recall, is like, he spent so many years explaining to children that he was never going to make an ET sequel, and he decided, well, if some kid comes and asks me, well, I'm not going to do a Jurassic Park sequel, it's like I can't think of a good reason, because it's clearly was not as personal of a movie to him as like Schindler's List or ET or Close Encounters. So he went and made Lost World.
Yeah, I mean, any sequel like Jurassic Park thing is like doing the same thing again, or like it's fine. I mean, you make slasher movie sequels, you do similar repetitious things, but that's got to be the understanding when you make more of these, that there's not a lot of places to go. Like, I want to know where these people get so mad. Like, where do you want these to go? Like, what's your story that's so groundbreaking, or that bad that they made this instead of something else? Like,
I think part of the issue is that there's a contingent of the perpetually online that thinks that everybody hates these movies and no one actually wants to see these movies, and they're constantly confused to why we keep getting Jurassic sequels, seemingly ignorant of the fact that they make an average of $1 billion worldwide.
That's the thing. If you want your answers as to why, look at the receipts. Like, that's the easiest thing, and people are so ignorant and dumb about like, well, look at the receipts. Like, wow, people won't want to go see Avatar again. I'm like, You mean the $2.9 billion movie isn't going to have some interest in the sequel that you're probably going to see your fucking self, you dumb Anyways.
It's why I appreciate to get on Jurassic Park. Like, it's why I appreciate 3 more than The Lost World. And not to pick on Lost World, but it's just because I like that as far as what story is there to tell. That one agrees with you. And it's just like, well, we're in a world where dinosaurs exist. Why don't we just visit one of them for a movie for 90 minutes and then get the hell out of there? That's what it does.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any greater themes to set up. It's just like, fuck it. What if they just go to Dinosaur Island for a bit, mess around, and get out of there?
Then third act? Who needs a third act? Those are for losers.
I mean, the third act would just be the Lost World third act, which is awful. So
I love it. They eat the dog. That's awesome.
Right. Oh,
Jurassic Park, good movie.
Good movie. Solid movie. And Scott, how did it fare at the box office this weekend as we head on over?
It broke the opening weekend record, earning $50 million counting previews.
What was the previous record at that point?
Batman Returns with 47 million counting previews. And it legged out all year for all intents and purposes. It made $359 million in North America alone, behind only E.T., which had made $399, counting various re-releases. So technically, it made more money than any movie in its first release. It made, I think, about $925 worldwide. It was the biggest grossing movie of all time globally.
What was it ahead of at that point?
It was ahead of E.T., which did 775 worldwide. Of course,
significant margin then.
Oh yeah. And it kept that milestone until Titanic in 1997, obviously. And it was the second biggest grossing movie of all time until 1999 with The Phantom Menace, that huge flop that nobody liked, obviously. Was the second biggest grossing movie between Jurassic Park and Titanic. And then Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone made $975, taking second place. But anyway, it was the biggest grossing movie of the year, one of the biggest grossing movie of all time. It was one of those blockbusters that everybody saw more than once. Even people that did not know movie scores could the theme, both themes, the and the bum 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 bum. It and Terminator 2 to a certain extent kicked off this era of look what we can do now.
Yeah.
And both of those films, as well as Independence Day, the dirty secret is that most of those effects were practical. They only used computer effects when they absolutely had to, or when it was something they could make it look better with computer effects versus whatever other tools they had at their disposal.
I mean, to T2's credit, like a usually memorable image is the T1000 doing stuff. I mean,
that was an example of because you could take computer effects and make it look amazing. I'm always shocked because when I was a kid, the most impressive effect for T2 was those like the gunshot wounds on the T1000.
Yeah,
and then you realize it's just fucking tinfoil.
I point that out just because it's like alien to me compared to a dinosaur which existed to some degree.
Yeah.
Like T1000 is like, that's not a thing. Like that's a thing that's been made
up. But anyway, I mean, it was a gigantic smash hit. It sort of revived Steven Spielberg's career in terms of being king of the blockbuster. And then several months later, Schindler's List gave him the acclaim and Oscar glory that he had been seeking and had been denied.
Is this his best year then? Because he dominates the box office and the Oscars.
I mean, look, I love Munich and I like War of the Worlds, but there's no comparison. Catch Me If You Can and Minority Report in 2002,
right.
Terrific, both smash hits, both well liked. But and again, any other director that would have a two for like War of the Worlds and Munich would be like, holy fucking shit, I won. And for him, it's like, it went pretty well.
You're also like,
well, there's only James Cameron could do it with one picture instead of having two. Like that's He's like, "Oh yeah, Steven, I'm gonna do it with one."
The thing we're too commonly trying to look at, though, is the fact that it's a year for some of those, like War of the Worlds, but we're really, it's like 18 months for 3 movies that he's doing in some of these.
Yeah. You're right. Well, and like
that's what's insane to me. It's like, yeah, okay, 2 movies in 1, 3 movies in 18 months, and they're all like, because it's like AI, Catch Me If You Can, and Minority Report, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And same with like, what is it? It's
technically Hook, and from Hook to Schindler's List is 2 years.
Yeah, but it's like Lost World, Amistad, and Saving Private Ryan is also another like 18 months. Like it's insane.
Well, and then there's like the Post and Ready Player One were like 4 months.
Yeah,
like apart. It was crazy.
Yeah. And like Tintin and Warhorse are right next to. I mean,
yeah, same week,
like
right? Or was it 10 days?
Dude is busy. Like, and he's not phoning it in. Like,
no.
Maybe he's got like an ADHD like me, where it's like once you start cleaning, you can't stop.
Well, hell, like West Side Story. Once that just got delayed. Once he stopped, he just went right into Fablemans.
Yeah,
it's that guy doesn't pause.
And it's I've always wondered, and this is just pure conjecture on my part, but I've always wondered when you watch Indy 3 and Hook, and you realize, you wonder what he's trying to say about his relationship with his parents and his attempts to be, quote unquote, a better parent, et cetera, et cetera. And considering he was in somewhat of an artistic and commercial slump, I always wonder if Jurassic Park and Schindler's List hadn't just catapulted him back to the top of the food chain if he had been, maybe if he had not retired, but sort of pulled back a little bit.
There's a lot of stuff, because it's like, it's not just the parents of it, it's also he has a giant divorce.
Yeah.
Right.
like an astronomically expensive divorce.
Yeah.
Like, in the midst of being like, I'm also working with Zalian on my fucking epic Jew movie. Like, I have a lot going on in my head right now, guys. Let me please, Robin Williams, call me at night to tell me jokes. I need
I forgot about that. But no, I mean, this is all 30-year-old conjecture. Obviously, if anything, I mean, the twin successes of Schindler's List and Jurassic Park launched him into a bigger and better era. I mean, yes, we all love E.T., we all love Jaws, we all love Close Encounters and what have you, but again, and we all say this all the time, it's like any filmmaker that would have made films only as good as Minority Report and only as good as Catch Him If You Can, et cetera, would have been, yeah, he may be the greatest of all time. And he just came out with one of his very best movies.
Yeah,
nobody saw it in theaters.
Back-to-back years.
Yeah.
Back-to-back years.
In terms of like both scale and like, and getting, being Mr. Blockbuster is one thing, but being a journeyman director who can not only go from different genres, but like succeed in the way that he has, where you have how many fucking 9 director nominations and all the it's like,
I mean,
nothing.
And obviously part of this is because the Academy likes Steven Spielberg, correctly so, but every single quote unquote serious picture that he has directed after Amistad has been nominated for Best Picture. Obviously Ready Player One was robbed, but I digress.
Too serious is what they said.
What was that?
Too serious is what they said.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I mean, he's fucking Spielberg.
Yeah.
And apparently he's not done yet.
No.
So what's number 2 at the box office?
Yeah.
Dave?
I don't fucking know. Hold on a second. Probably Cliffhanger or something.
Yep.
Oh yeah, rock on.
It is. Yeah.
Yes, Cliffhanger was.
It was Hang On, but yeah.
Yes. $7.6 million in its third weekend, bringing its total up to $49 million. It would eventually top out at about 83. Made in America would make 4.7, and it's
that thing
weekend.
run.
Look
at that movie.
I like that Made America's number 3 of the weekend, the Jurassic Park.
Yeah. People went to the movies. There was room for everything.
It feels like that's one that's like, oh, that's that dirty Will Smith movie. It was a decent hit. Like,
it was.
Yeah.
Speaking of shitty movies, Guilty as Sin was number 4 with
Right.
3.6 million for an 11.4 million 10-day total. Dave had 3 million in its sixth weekend, would top 52 million. Menace to Society dropped 20% in its third weekend, adding 27 screens for a $2.6 million weekend and $12.8 million 17-day total. Life with Mikey would drop a whopping, for this time, 41% in its second weekend for a $7 million 10-day total. Hot Shots Part 2 would make $2 million, dropping 53%, losing 300 screens, which weirdly enough, Life with Mikey would gain 353 screens in its second weekend
It just
and
didn't
still
have
drop
enough
41%.
screens, guys. That's what the problem was. It needed more screens.
Exactly.
Yes.
Sliver would make 2 million, and Super Mario Brothers would lose 200 screens in its third weekend, would earn $1.7 million, dropping 59% for a $17 million 17-day total.
Dino's bookend the top 10.
Oh, because What's Love Got to Do with It, which I think we're talking about next week.
Yes.
Would open in 58 screens for a whopping $21,000 per screen average, which is actually a little bit higher than Jurassic Park, which made $19,561 per screen on its 2,400 screen release. Anyway, What's Love Got to Do with It? $1.22 million after 3 days, and in 13th fucking place is Unforgiven, which is sticking around. Despite opening in August of 1992.
How many
it was about to cross the $100 million mark.
How many screens did Carnosaur add this week?
0.
But Orlando and Romper, Stomper, and Equinox all hit the top 20.
Yes, by default. Orlando would earn $107,000 in 3 screens. Romper Stopper would earn $8,200 in 1 screen, and Equinox would earn $6,300 in a single screen. Orlando would eventually make $5 million domestic, and the other 2 would make pennies.
I'm trying to get $6,300 for so if it's like what $5, it's like a cheap tickets back then too. 93, right? It's not too expensive.
I'm guessing it was people sneaking into Super Mario Brothers.
I mean, that honestly might partially be the case, that they're just buying the movie because they can't get Jurassic Park tickets.
Yes. Don't explain the joke, Aaron.
I'm trying to think of how is it making even that amount of money?
You're correct.
What theater is being jam-packed with Modine fans for this weekend?
Not Cutthroat Island. Sad to say.
We need that Equinox box office, Matthew. You got that in you for a pirate movie? Yeah.
Because everyone else said no.
It could be like a college paid for a theater. That's where that money might be. Just to be that's what it feels like.
That's how much the rental cost. Can I show my movie here?
That's what it could be. Just to sell out.
Yeah, $6,000. All right. Well, looks like we made some bank this weekend.
You get a busker on the street being like, "Come here, got a ticket for you."
Equinox.
No, it's not the one you want to see.
Matthew Modine, Yep.
That
you get
jacket guy.
2 Modines, price of 1. Come on in. Come on in. You like Twin Peaks, huh? Well, Laura Flynn Boyle, she's in this movie. Come on down. It's Equinox. All right. Well,
excuse me.
And that yawn tells us it's time to end the episode, and that'll do it for June 11th through 13th, 1993. Scott and Aaron, thank you for joining me. As always.
Always a pleasure.
Before we sign out, let people know where they keep up with you, Aaron.
I write for a website called We Live Entertainment. I am the senior editor over there. I also write for Why So Blue. You can find all my various movie reviews, Blu-ray reviews, and Criterion reviews on these various sites. I host a podcast called Out Now with Aaron and Abe with my friend Abe. We talk about weekly movie releases. All of my stuff can be found on thecodeofzeke.com. That is my personal blog where everything I do ends up. And I'm on Twitter at Aaron's PS4.
All right, Scott.
I'm at therap.com, and I can be found on Twitter at Scott Mendelson.
All right, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. My written work is at whysoblue.com, like Aaron's. We run the front page. And tune in next week as Arnold Schwarzenegger, while in a forest, asked us what love's got to do with any of this. All that and more as the summer of 93 at 30 continues.
It's the summer of 93 at 30.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.